Hey folks, welcome back to FS22, and I want to look at a topic that lots of people seem to be interested in but not really testing the way I want to test it. And that's mulching. Everyone talks about the fact that if you mulch a field after you harvest you get a 5% bonus. If you look in the data that comes with the game, it suggests that you only get that bonus for corn, sunflowers and grass. So I'm going to test that. So we've got a field set up here. We have 8 strips of crop, and this is the start of probably what's going to take me quite a while, and it's taken a while so far. So this field has been subsoiled and then planted or seeded. So we have 2 strips of canola, and these have been done using VCA GPS and doing 2 strips with the Great Plains seeder that has just come out. So everything's been done with the same seeder. It's louder than I expected. So we've got canola, we've got wheat, neither of which should give a yield boost when they have been mulched. And then we've got sunflowers and corn just coming into view down there in the distance. So what I'm going to do is get all of these harvested, and then we are going to mulch 1 strip of each type of crop, and then subsoil both and replant both with the same crop. I'm going to do the same crop all the way across the field. I need to pick something that's going to be high yielding, so I haven't decided yet. I'll have a look and see which should be the highest yielding crop that we can combine, because the higher the yield, the more noticeable the difference should be. So I'm going to get all this combined and I'll come back to you then when we're starting the mulching, I think. So this has taken me quite a while. Using a couple of X9s, we have got everything harvested. And before I move into mulching part of it and prepping the fields, I just wanted to do a quick update on what I'm planning to do. So we've got these 36-ish meter wide strips of now harvested corn, sunflowers, wheat and canola, and they are not fertilized. I'm not going to fertilize them. My plan is to mulch every other one, subsoil them, and then plant a strip down the middle of each one, and then harvest that strip and see what difference we get. So I'm going to get on with that. Subsoiling, because we've done corn, so that needs ploughing afterwards anyway, otherwise I probably wouldn't have bothered, but I think it's sensible too. So yeah, I'm going to get all that done and get the crop, the strips planted with barley, get that grown, and then we'll be back and we'll see what results we get. We're actually back a little bit earlier because we're going to buy the mulcher, so I thought I'd just do that on camera. If I can remember where mulchers are. There we go. So I'm going to go for this one, which is a 6 meter mulcher. So I've just been looking at bits to buy, and I'm going to use my favorite Lemkin Solitaire seeder, which is a 12 meter seeder. So I'm going to do 2 12 meter strips down the middle of the 36 meter starting test plots that we've done. That means we can get a bit more yield off, which should reduce the errors of how much we harvest, and we can get a 12. So we can get 12. We've got a 6 meter mulcher. We can get a 12 meter seeder and then a 12 meter header to run. So that's the plan. So I'm going to get all that done as I just said, and then I'll be back. So mulching, seeding, growing, harvesting. Back in a bit.
We got our windows down, driving down the 405, sing along to the radio. We're gonna make it someday, nothing's gonna get in our way. We will be the biggest band in town. Round and round the world we'll go, putting on the greatest show. So make sure that you don't miss out.
Okay, so all the field work is done and we are ready to test. We have 8 X9s lined up to harvest I ended up doing 1 12 meter wide strip. So as a reminder, we have canola without mulching and then with mulching, wheat without mulching and then with mulching, sunflowers without mulching, and then with mulching, corn without mulching, then with mulching. After I'd harvested, every other strip got mulched. Every strip has been subsoiled and then planted with barley. And we're now going to go through and harvest them and see which one gives the best yield. Well, not the best yield, to see if mulching has an effect and which crops it has an effect with. So from looking at the XMLs in the game, it looks like mulching only applies for sunflowers and corn from a crops point of view, and for grass. So we're going to see if that holds out. I've done wheat and canola as examples of other crops to see if it has an effect or not. A lot of what I'm seeing on YouTube is that the mulchers don't work. They just don't do anything. And before I actually get into playing, I wanted to test a load of this stuff for myself. So I'm expecting to get the same amount of barley off of this strip and the next strip, because they are canola. They were canola into barley, and canola doesn't give a mulching bonus. I will stick up on the screen the bit from the XML file which I think backs up what I'm testing. I have not got to the end of testing this yet, so I don't know what the results are going to be. I may end up looking dumb at the end of this. But testing is important at the moment because the documentation for the game is pretty awful in my view. So we have got 3,564 litres. Jump in the next one. And see what we get. I could put these all on a worker, but vehicle control add-on has been a godsend for getting this done, for making sure that all of my processes that I've applied have overlapped. I will have shown some time lapse of me doing some of these steps, and you can see here the difference between the canola. So from right to left you've got harvested canola, mulched canola, subsoiled mulched canola, and then harvested barley on top of that. So there are quite a few layers that have gone into getting this done, and it's taken a while. But I like to know for myself, like I say, before I get into playing the game properly, I want to know that the things that I'm doing are worthwhile. If you're playing properly and you've got limited funds, you don't want to buy a mulcher and spend the time mulching if it's not going to make a difference. But equally, if you can get a benefit from it, I want to do it. So we're going to find out. There's probably going to be some error in this because we're not harvesting a lot, and what I might do is once I've got my results, I may expand on that in another video. So 3.6, 3.5. So yeah, there's a 50 litre difference there from what should have been no effect. Okay, next is wheat. So this is wheat without being mulched first. Let's see what we get. I think what I'm going to do is let's see if we get time. Let's just let it run. I was going to say I'll do some time lapse, but I think we'll just try and let it run. I may end up skipping some of the bits at the end to get to the results, and then I'll need to pause to go and do some spreadsheet stuff to work out the differences we get. What I'm expecting is these first two will kind of tell us our expected variation, just with differences in planting and stuff. So yeah, the last one we saw a 50 litre difference, which is quite a small percentage, I guess. Sorry, the phone went then. Just slightly annoying. Has really thrown me off my routine. Let's back up a bit. And let's go again. Should have just ignored it, but it was the wife, so probably not the best idea. So 3, 5, 6, 7. All about the same, which is good. We should be seeing a lot of very similar numbers in here. The difference is we should start to see on the two more combines time. Okay, so we are now doing wheat that's been mulched. Should be no difference. We then have sunflowers that haven't been mulched, and then sunflowers that have been mulched. I'm hoping I can get this done before the family get home. If not, there may be a pause and a whole load of noise when the dogs turn up. But I have to try and not when the family turn up and the dogs bark, because that's what they do. Anyway, yep. So expecting the same amount off of here, 3,500 litres ish. Random thing that I noticed, the tracks on these X9s seem really narrow. I would have thought they would have been much wider. Just me? Yeah, it's quite a nice combine. I don't know, I don't think I do very much of the prep work, but I was playing around with some different tractors. The Class Terra track looks very bland inside and very flat. It feels almost like it was half finished. So we got a little bit more that time. 3623. Yeah, so it's kind of the upper limit of where we were. This one again will be similar. Let's just make sure we're in the crop. Ooh. Yeah, so this one should be similar, and then the next one I'm hoping to see some sort of benefit from. So I'm just trying to quickly get my calculator out. We're looking at about 3,600 litres, aren't we? So we might expect another 200 litres. It's not 180 litres. It's not a lot, is it? It's only 3 times the kind of error bound that we're seeing. If it looks like we're getting that yield bonus, what I'm probably going to do is a second video where I'll probably take this field and cut it in half and do with mulching and without mulching, with either sunflower or corn beforehand, and we'll see what we get. Something that I've not seen, and I'm not sure on, is whether the bonus is just a flat 5% for all crops or whether it varies with crop type. So yeah, another nearly 3,600 litres. Right, the interesting one. I keep switching the combine off. These things have been running for days while I've been waiting for the crop to grow, because I brought them on, got them set up, and then did the speeding up of time. But this one will be the first one where we should see a difference, and I either shut up and agree with everyone else that the mulcher doesn't work, or I'm right and it's crop dependent on the previous crop. I'm really nervous. The anticipation is you can feel it in the room. I'm on my own, so no one else can feel it. But hey, let's build some tension. Bit of that YouTube excitement. So it's hard to tell, obviously, because we're only yielding 1 strip, and it's quite it's a relatively small yield. The field just wasn't big enough to do a lot, and I was getting a bit, it's taken a lot of time, as I said, to settle this up, and it would be nice to have maybe course play or something that would have made it easier. But let's see, do we get 3,600 or do we get closer to 3,800? I'm going to call that the same amount. So far, it looks like I have wasted my time, and the mulch doesn't work. In which case, you may not actually see this, because I might not bother. That's frustrating, isn't it? That's big enough yield that we should see the difference. So if we end up getting exactly the same off of all of these strips, then that's disappointing. It's very disappointing that it's not actually doing anything. Yeah, I'll admit that I was wrong, and the mulcher doesn't work, and actually it's not dependent on the crop that you plant beforehand. It's purely down to giants not implementing it properly, or us not having enough information to understand how it works. Maybe you just mulch and you don't subsoil or cultivate or anything. Maybe you just plant straight into the mulched. So, last one. I'm not even going to need to get my spreadsheet out, I don't think. Which is poised empty, waiting. So let's see whether it works on this one or not. And then we can wrap this video up. And it'll be, how long have I been working on making this damn thing? 3.5 hours of my life wasted. Thanks, giants. So I think what I'm going to do is, because I'm expecting this one to come out at about 3,600 litres as well, we'll just then quickly scan through all the combines and check. And see that actually the mulcher doesn't work. Which would suck. But it saves the process, I guess. If you're watching my Ravenwood Farm series, that's what it looks like before you strip everything out, like I've done. We're not going to get to 38, are we? So, 36.23, 35.64, 36.19, 35.67, 36.23. So, there is very definitely a pattern there. What we are seeing is a very tiny boost for every crop. And it is a very tiny boost. I'm just very quickly going to work that out whilst we have the camera running. So let's just grab the calculator out. We've got 36.23 divided by 35.64. It's like a 1.5% boost. That's not good, is it? So, in fact, so this was prompted by Hilly Farms posting it in my Discord about all the testing that he's done. And I'm just looking to see what he saw with the mulcher. He saw 0.5%. In fact, he saw no difference at all. So I guess he got a small difference as well. So I think, it's just maybe that the bonus isn't working properly. Not sure, but yeah. The mulcher is disappointing. Wait a minute. You got your maths wrong, kid. So I was pondering it as I was doing the testing, and if you're on my Discord, you've seen that I had an inkling that the maths isn't quite as simple as without mulching we got 3,564 litres. So with mulching we'd get 5% more than that. And it's not. And I had accounted for some of it in doing some of my maths, in that I thought that I took off the 15% for ploughing and the 15% bonuses you get for lime. What I missed, thanks Hilly Farms for pointing me at Farmer Cop's video, is that if you have weeded, you get a 20% yield boost. So to get back to a baseline for the field, we actually need to take off 50% of what we got. So you'll see it up here on the screen now. I've got a slide trying to work through the maths. So we started off with our baseline yield averaged across the 4 strips, because we got the same for all of the crops, of 3,564 and 3/4 litres. So if we take off all of the bonuses, and you have to add them all together, it's not you take off 15%, then you take off 15%, then you take off 20%. You take off 50%. So Taking the 50% off, that gets us down to a baseline of 2,377 litres. So that would be the minimum yield that you would get off of the field. We then look in the Farming Academy and we see that mulching actually only gives 2.5% bonus, not 5%, as I thought it was. And I think that's kind of the common number that's floating about, and I think it actually what it says in game. So to find out what we would have expected to get from our testing, we take our baseline of 2,377 litres, and then we add back on the 15% from it being ploughed, the 15% from the lime, and the 20% from there not being weeds, and then another 2.5% from the fact that it's mulch. And that gives us an expected yield with mulching of 3,625 litres. And the average that I got from my testing, 3,622 litres, within experimental error easily. So yes, you get a boost of 2.5% from mulching. But if you've done everything else, the actual increase in yield is going to be quite small. So as long as you're covering the big numbers, so as long as you're fertilizing, you're weeding, you're liming, and if you need to, you're plowing, you probably don't need to worry about rolling or mulching. If you want to do them for realism's sake, crack on. If you've got a massive field and that 2.5% is going to make a big difference, crack on. But the mulchers aren't very big, so it's going to take you a while. So we saw a yield bonus of 55-ish litres out of 3,500 litres. It's not a lot. Across the field, that would have probably been a few hundred litres total, maybe 500 litres, I think, for quite a lot of extra work in my mind. So yes, it works as intended. Is it worth it? I don't think so. I probably won't be doing it that often unless I feel like mulching the field for fun. So yeah, that's corrected my misunderstanding of how the maths works. Hopefully it helps you understand how some of these bonuses work and how they stack up. And if you're doing testing, how you get down to your baseline. You have to take everything off that's giving you a bonus before you start thinking about what those bonuses add on. So thanks again to Hilly Farms. Thanks to Farmer Cop for the video where he explains this quite well as well. And yeah, so thanks for watching, folks. Like, subscribe, comment. Slightly more positive end to the video. I thought rather than editing out everything that I had done, I would add this on the end. So hopefully you've made it far enough to see this bit at the end. Catch you next time.